Hello and welcome to another Mr. Beats Bike video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at the Sony SL-C6 Mark II, the mechanical side of it. In part one we looked at the electronics, got it up and running, did a few checks and tested it, so got it working, and in this one we're actually going to look at the mechanical side of it, changing the belts and the idlers. The kit from Australia finally arrived, which is great. And took about 5 weeks in the end, so quite a long time. So let's actually check what it is doing. Now it has been off pretty much for 5-6 weeks. Okay, so let's try a tape. So we still have the noisy loading gears, which we'll have a look at. Let's try fast forward. It does actually fast forward okay. I did actually put some rubber renew just to get by in the first video, so that's still working pretty well. The upper drum is fairly worn, so rewind's a little bit interesting. Play. So you see there is take up. You can see it's a little bit jittery. You can tell by the tension sensor arm here that it's not brilliant on take up, but it is working. And you'll probably remember we do actually get a pretty good picture with it. It's pretty good. So I would like to think with a service, i.e. changing all the rubbers, we should be good to go. So let's press eject to see what happens. It's always good fun to see a tape getting looped up inside a machine. Oh, pressing the wrong button. And that's actually pretty good. No loop left. So with that, let's crack on. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the front panel off. What I will do then is take the front loading system out. So yeah, let's crack on with that. It's a little bit of a lift up just to disengage it. Pretty mucky in there, but yeah, that'll all be cleaned. That's all good. So there it is in all its glory. You see the solenoids down here, which I absolutely love these, to be honest. I think they're great. And clock module with its blue filter on the front of it to give it the nice colour. So all of this will be cleaned. You can actually unclip this as well, which is always interesting to see the neons, green neons, no LEDs. So yeah, so what I'm going to do next is unscrew the front loading system, and that's done by undoing this screw there, you can just about see, screw here, and then this screw down here. So the 4 screws are out, so next thing is to unplug this connector here. And then I think this should just lift off, like so. So there you go, lifted off. You can see there the orange tape in mechanical assembly there. I will give this a grease as well, just to make it nice. And probably put a bit of deoxit on these leaf switches as well, just to ensure reliability. So here we go. The belts. So I've got this rubber tyre on the take up. The supply actually just has plastic friction cut into it or molded into it. Tyre here, and then we've got the belts here, pinch roller obviously, belt for the counter. It's all pretty easy to change. There is a little idler tyre here as well, needs to change, and then of course we've got underneath as well. So now I seem to remember I do need to take this apart. I should have looked at the manual really, but I sort of decided I was going to wing it. I've done a few belt changes on these, but not for probably 30 years, so yeah. Nothing like relying on your memory. So yeah, let's crack on. So let's get this screw undone. I have a strange feeling this may be not a good idea, but I can't. Oh well, let's just see what happens. Let's move that out of the way. So that has the tape end sensor for rewind, and well, that's sort of it. So what I need to do is take this off. I think that's a bit more involved than what I'm thinking, because there is a belt. This belt here, this actually goes underneath a metal assembly, and I think the whole thing needs to come apart, but I could be wrong, because I don't think you need to do that. I think if I take this circlip off here, possibly this one here, then I can get that belt off. I really can't remember how I did it before. Then we've got here, I need to get the spool off, which is easy enough to do. So just pull this back, lift it up, that belt comes off the counter. So that's that one. It's actually not too bad. And just being a bit careful because I'm assuming there's a washer on the top. Yes, so there's a washer on the top, just like on the later decks. And these will be calibrated. So these are actually spacing the height of the spool, so you don't want to lose any of these. But I will sort just make sure the bearings are good. They should be, I would have thought. So, and then you've got the tyre on the take-up. So I'll give the spool a bit of a clean as well. I'll give all of this a clean because it is fairly dusty. The shafts are actually fairly sticky. Any grease that was there has just gone a bit gloopy, so we'll give those a clean. I'll also do the same to this side. I don't know how easy, yeah, because you can unclip. You can actually unclip the back tension. So you can see there is a clip, and you can just literally push this back and it'll unclip, and then pull this round. Oh, I'm not doing that very well, am I? Just move it out of the way, trying not to deform the copper if you can help it. And then you can lift this one up as well. There's a brake that you have to be a bit careful of, and again, washers. So that's fine. So this one, you can see it's got the friction molded into the spool. Brakes, you have to be aware of these brakes when you're pushing the spools back on, because the spools will rest on the top of the brakes. You just have to push them back on each side, just to you can actually push this lever for that one. It's quite cool. In fact, you can push that lever for both of them. Didn't realise that. That's quite cool. So as you push the spools on, pull this back, that like that, drop the spool on if you've got that many hands. So, yeah, I suppose the next thing is to get that clip off. It's making sure it doesn't fly off into oblivion. So there doesn't appear to be a washer. No, there's no washer on that, so that's good. So I don't know quite what I was thinking there really, because of course that isn't going to do anything to help me get this off, get this belt off, because it's still captive even with that gear off. Okay, no I don't. So how you do this, there's a screw here. So, which is special, insofar as it also has a washer on it, and it's quite an odd length, so don't lose that. And then unscrew, and then this comes out. So there we go, didn't need the manual, it suddenly clicked. Yes, so this bit here, this locates into plastic assembly down here. And we can see this. How much of this you can see, to be honest, but one day I'll get another camera. So plastic assembly that goes through to the bottom of the deck, and no doubt actuates something. I can't remember what. So yeah, so what I'll do now is I'm going to strip this down. I'm going to take the clips off, strip this down, give it a good clean, and I'm going to lubricate all of the shafts, because probably the yeah, you hear that's the noise you're getting at load. So yeah, so if we can sort of get rid of that, that would be really nice. And then we'll change the belts, put it back together, and everything will be fantastic. And then we'll do the bottom of the deck and change the belts there. Okay, so giving the deck a bit of a clean up, and I thought it was just worth, I was just going to just take this apart, grease it and put it back together. I thought it's worth actually showing this on camera. So this is the loading ring gear set, and basically this gear is not part of it. Basically all the circlips are the same and all the gears just lift off. There is a, if you take this off, there is a black washer that goes underneath there. Although I do wonder if really it should be on the top. I think this has been a part before, but I'm putting it back the way I found it, so because that works. And then this gear here, this actually locks in to the main gear there, like so. So that goes back on there, and that goes on there. And the noise I was getting at loading, that was this gear. So when I took it apart or loosened it off and then put this dust back on its own, you could feel that it was actually sort of had some resistance that was causing the noise to occur. So I'm hoping it should be a nice quiet loading deck once this is back together. So let's get the circlips back, E-clips back in. And this one, Put it that way round. Like so. So that's it. You won't believe I cleaned that. There's bits of muck on it already. But yeah, so that's much, much better. It's just quieter. So this obviously goes on here. I've got another clip on the floor here somewhere there. So I think I can put this on because I don't think it does actually get in the way at all. That was just me sort of trying to think outside the box to make my life easier, but it doesn't actually work like that. Seldom does it? So let's try and press that on. So there we go. So load, unload, or load and unload, I can't remember. Super, so let's crack on with changing these belts. So here are all the belts out of the packet. Now the only belt that's missing is the counter belt. This is the original, the one that came off the deck. So I'm actually tempted to reuse that because although it's not wonderful, it's not bad and it's not critical either. So I'm fairly happy to use that. If I might go through my belt sets and to see if I have one, but otherwise I'm happy to use that. Tyre for that. And we've got a tyre for that one. Tyre for that one. And yeah, there's a remaining tyre which I believe goes underneath. We've got these belts here. One goes underneath. One might be that one, possibly. Don't know. Gosh, that belt is very bad. Let's get this belt off first. I'm actually tempted to take that off because that's also suspect for making a noise at loading. So let's get that off. And oh, there's a washer underneath there. No, there isn't. So that's good. Okay, so I've just given that a clean. I've got all of the rubber residue from the old belt out of the pulley there, so that's great. Let's get this tyre off. It's quite easy to do. It's interesting, the slight size difference. There is more rubber on the replacement. This is a thicker tyre, which should be alright, I would have thought. Sort of makes sense. Time will tell, no doubt. The smaller, both the tyres, smaller tyres are the same size, so I've got a problem there. So that's on. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of thick silicone grease and also a little bit on the little peg, which I haven't actually cleaned that well. Don't mind leaving a little bit on there, but let's make sure that's still got silicone on it, which it has. A little dollop on there. Big dollop. Don't need that much. That's much better. Excellent. And put the circlip back on, which I've probably lost. Lovely. And then we've got these belts here. So it's interesting because this cog here actually has a pulley right at the bottom, and there's nothing on that. Let's get these clean while I'm in here. So
But this, probably in other decks, that bottom one would have been probably used for a belt to go from here to here. But on this one, it's underneath. You can see if I move this, this is moving. Probably just about see that, maybe, probably not. So yeah, so if I move this, that's moving, which so the belt's underneath one of these small belts. So which belt is it? Good question. So the belt I'm taking off is a small belt, small thin belt, and I would say that's the replacement. So I haven't worried too much about getting these pulleys off. Yeah, so that's fine. I'm just going to hope they're okay, which they should be. Old belt, new belt. This is the old belt. This is the new belt. Yeah, it's driving well. You can see that's it's even turning that, so that's great. One thing that's worth noting, or a couple of things actually. Pinch roller. I've had people comment about this. Like for example, when I did the Sanyo, I actually took it off from the circlip. Main reason I did that is because this was so tough to pull off. I was worried about cracking the plastic. But on this one, this has actually come off nice and cleanly, and I was able to remove the pinch roll and give that a jolly good clean. Since we managed to get a bit of grease on there, so I have to clean that off. And then this just pushes back on. On this deck, it's not overly critical where you get this angle or how you get this angle, as long as it's able to the arm here is able to push this against the capstan, you're okay. So yeah, that's great. Next thing is this tyre, and again, tyre that's been supplied is just a little bit thicker, so hopefully I should be able to get this on okay. I might have to take the gear off altogether, maybe, don't know. Oh, I think I should be able to do it. A little bit of jiggling, just trying hard not to bend or stress the mechanism the pulley is actually on. The idler. That is actually cleaned and it's sort of got mucky again. Yes, that's from the fibres of the old belts and everything. So spool. You may have to get a screwdriver to get this off, but I'm fairly lucky insofar as it's not too hard. So again, old, new. And so the rubberized little one with the rubber tyre on goes here. I have actually lubricated these bearings as well, just like I do on the later decks. Some silicone grease. I didn't have to push that brake back actually. Just sort of slid past it, not too bad. But remember, you can take off the brakes there or there. And then supply reel. All the plastics have been cleaned. I've not done the best job at cleaning these out, as you can see. It's all right. Again, lubricated, so all good. And we'll have to just push that for this, just to get that in. Idler getting a bit in the way. I hope that idler will be alright. I'm just a bit concerned that it's maybe not. It doesn't seem to be sitting quite right either, but we'll see. Maybe. I think that will be okay, actually. So the other thing I was going to say about this is with the lacing gearing mechanism out the way, you can actually manually load the ring, and it's quite nice to do that just to feel how good the race actually is, or the travel actually is. If you do go too far and you lock it, there's this pulley here you need to pull back so you can unlace it again, like so. So it's fully unlaced. Now this assembly goes pretty much this way. You've got a slot here which allows you to adjust it for the correct tension against, or pressure against the actual lacing ring. So yeah, you just have to be a bit careful. Then this here locates there's a little plastic part there that comes up through the deck. Okay, so how you get this in, because I'd completely forgotten. So this assembly here goes between the two sections of the belt there. And then you sort of have to try and maneuver this around, which isn't actually too bad once you know what you're doing. And get into the rod, which is not wanting. Oh, it's just done it. It's done it by itself. That's good. And then we've got the long screws. So the screw with a single washer goes at the bottom. Get screwdrivers to put that in. It's actually going through a plastic raised sort of, if you like, platform into the metal chassis, by the looks of it anyway. Which is why these screws are a little bit different to any of the others on the deck. So let me get this. Put this back on. Which I seem to remember was just that screw. Doesn't look as if I cleaned that. When you're cleaning things like this, it's the sort of thing that you keep cleaning and then you keep finding you've missed somewhere. So let's get the back tension band back in, and I will give it a check with the back tension tape. So that's it. A little bit of a rivel there from it floating about. That shouldn't be anything to be worried about. And more bits of mist. It is nice to give them a bit of a clean, because it does help stop dust from causing issues. So also cleaned and serviced the front loading mechanism. Did that off camera, it's nothing terribly exciting, just cleaning off the grease, putting some new silicone based thick grease on there. Also used a tiny bit of thin grease on the assemblies there and there. And cleaned the door, dusted it out, and I even put some new foam on the top, which is like a bit of a spacer, if you like, or damper against the top cover. So get that put back in. And this is relatively straightforward. Oh, in fact, I just spotted some cracked plastic. So I'm going to fix that. Got some cracked plastic here. I'm going to fix that first. Literally all I'm going to do is just put some super glue in there, and hopefully that'll be enough just to keep it solid. It doesn't seem to be causing any problems, but it has cracked. So it's probably with expansion and contraction over the years of the deck itself. Very, very slight, just putting pressure on the plastic. But yeah, I'll just put some glue in there and hopefully that'll be good enough. It'll be gel super glue. So let's get the front loading system put back in. And that should be fairly straightforward. Just literally position it, make sure the screw holes are lined up, plug in the connector, put the screws back in. Super, there we go. So, time to do the belts underneath. And this machine, you can actually tip up onto its back, because it has raised edges to which means it won't fall over and it stands quite nicely. So yeah, let's get this bottom panel opened up and take a look. Okay, so unclip here. I've already taken the screws out from part one, so just never bothered putting them back in, knowing that I was going to do the belts. So we have one or two belts here. One, two. One's thicker, one's thinner. So that one and that one. Looks like we have an idler and a belt left over, which I thought we might actually. And then we've got the capstan belt. So yeah, let's get these changed. It's actually a bit difficult to do like this at this angle, but at least you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. Screw at the bottom. Screw at the top. Then take the belt off. And again, I mean, that belt is actually not too bad. What is interesting, well, you can see there's where it's been sat for years. What was interesting is the idler tyre was actually turned inside out. So I need to give the pulley a bit of a cleaner. Well, the actual capstan flywheel is good. There's a lot of muck on the motor pulley, so I'll give that a clean now, and then we'll get that belt put on. Okay, so it's all cleaned up. It's actually all rather good. The pulley actually was incredibly dirty to the point it's actually slightly pitted, but it should be fine like that. Oh, this belt's a little bit twisted. Been twisted in the packet, and it's making it just a little bit more difficult to put on. Oops. Gosh, I'm not doing very well there, am I? There we go, so that's on. And let's put the screws back in. Just get it so lined up. The one you're not doing up is fairly well lined up. This makes it easy to get it back in. Stray hair trying to cause havoc. Also a random letter that just fell out. Obviously fallen off a cassette at some point. Those little stickers were a bit of a pain. So yeah, let's do these belts. And then I guess you need to take this motor off. And I don't think there's anything terribly clever going on with this motor, other than it's just screwed in place with 2 screws. I'm not expecting anything else to drop out or anything. So there's that motor. It's actually fairly clean, although I will give all of this a clean. So yes, so I'll give it a clean, and then we'll fit everything back, and yeah, on to the next thing then. Okay, so all cleaned up. Not the best of jobs, but it's enough. And now for the fun, and I suspect it's going to be one of those jobs where you need 3 hands, because you've got to get the belt on the pulley here. In fact, I wonder if I do it the other way around. Whoop. Doesn't seem either way is working particularly well for me. And see, I wonder. No, there isn't. I just wondered if there might have been a post to catch. Oh, it's come off. It's completely come off. I'm going to unplug the motor so I'm not pulling on this wiring. Well, that actually wasn't too bad, he says, because he hasn't got it together yet, but oh no, don't come off. There we go. Oh, that was well caught. I'm going to plug this in now because I will forget. One of my favourite tricks, do all the mechanical and forget to plug in the connectors. So that's on. It's solid. And this belt is actually nice and easy. Super, so that's great, all done. So the next thing to look at is the upper drum. Get that resurfaced, because it has got quite a bit of wear on it. Now to get the fan off the top, the dust cover stroke fan, if you hold this and then just twist the plastic on the top. Do it either way, twist it from the top, twist it from the bottom, doesn't matter. And then it will come off. And that needs a clean too. So I'll do that next. So you may have noticed that I did actually forget to put the counter belt back on. So I have actually found another one. It's from a Toshiba V5480 belt kit, which is the same as the 5470. It's a little bit smaller, but it's a little bit thinner, so I'm happy with that. It's not sort of impeding rotation at all, and it works. So I had to take off the front loading system. I was going to try and feed it through, but quite honestly, it's so easy to get the front loading system off. Just take it off. You know, it's if you need to do anything on the deck, just take it out. It's so quick. And I thought also it gave us a bit more access to actually see the state of the upper drum. So yeah, you can see it's pretty worn. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not shiny, but it is pretty worn. The heads are actually pretty okay in this machine. So yeah, so I'm going to take this off, and we'll give it a resurface, put it back on, and put it back together. And we should be somewhere near ready to test it. So with the cover off, I've just moved the panel on the top here out the way a little bit more because my Allen key is a bit too long. And I don't know if I can get that in there. Yes, I can. There we go. So there's the upper drum. Not terrible, but not great as well. So resurfacing that is a good idea. So let's get and do that now. So remove the, oh, that was loose. Spring-loaded guides, which are fairly clean. So there we go. So you can see there. So you can see there's actually a spacer, a thin amount of material that's actually against the assembly that this screws onto. There's left a mark there, so just be a bit careful that you don't want to sort of disturb that, just to keep it in good order, good alignment. And let's just resurface that. So this is Scotch-Brite. I tend to find this does a really good job. You know, different people have different methods, and jury's out as to which one is the least damaging and gives the best performance. But I have found, I've done quite a few machines with this, using this method, including one I use quite a lot, and it's still good. The upper drum is still good. It still winds and rewinds really cleanly. Alignment is good as well. So this is my chosen method now over any of the others. It just removes just enough. It's not too heavy duty, and it's fairly even as well, which is what you want. There's not much risk of burring the lower edge of the drum either, using this method and the way I'm doing this. So that's actually looking a lot better. Still a very slight line there. I do tend to like to totally clean it or totally make it so you can't see where the tape's been running. That way you know you've done enough, but probably on a heavily scored one maybe I wouldn't go quite so. Yeah, that's pretty much as far as I need to go, I think, and still a little bit of a sign of where the tape has been running. I might just give it a little bit more on that side. I'll do it right the way around just to keep it equal. There. That's really good. You can see there as I go to the part that I didn't do. So here I haven't done. Here I have, and you can't really tell the difference, to be fair. So what I'll do now, because obviously there's residue left from doing that, I'll give this a jolly good clean now. And yeah, we'll put it back in, give it a test. So that's now back in place. Now you can see that this has been off before, which is probably why this screw is not that tight, or would be a reason why. Because somebody's actually scratched in lines here to line up the upper drum again. Now, I have to say I don't do that. What I tend to do, especially with the ones with 2 screws, I just do them up sort of fairly tight on each side equally, and then just give the drum a little bit of a wiggle, and it'll basically seat itself again. Because ultimately there is pretty much only one way the curve will go into the curved mounts. So it will sit where it needs to sit. I don't believe you need to align them, but tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it's I never quite understood it myself, but I may well just be wrong. I've never had problems either just doing it that way. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear your comments on that one. Okay, so that's all tightened up. You can still see where the tape does run, but that's fine. Actually, what looks worse on camera than it does when you actually look at it with your eyes. So that's interesting. So I'll just put that back on and just tighten it. So and then get the panel put back in. Front loading system. As you know, I've got the belt back on as well. Belt on for the tape counter. So I've given the front panel a pretty good clean. Could do with the final going over. But as part of that, I've actually removed the whole clock panel, Perspex. Now this is actually really easy to do. Bit of hair there. Basically, there are little clips here, one at the bottom below where the record button assembly is, and one here. And all you do is gently press down through the gap here that presses onto the Perspex fronts and pull the tabs back. And as you push down, you'll find they'll start to unclip. Just go round, just keeping pressure around here, and it will drop out. And that then allows you to give this a jolly good clean, get all the dust out. I believe it's the same for the top one. Yeah, you can see it's the same up here. Just pull it back and push through. Same with this one. That should just drop through. There we go. So it's actually quite mucky. I wasn't going to bother doing this, but I'm glad I did now. And this is the thing, once you've done one, it makes the other one look shabby. So there we go. And of course it is cracked, unfortunately. Let me know if you've got better ones than these. This one's just got a couple of little dings on it, but it's not too bad. And you literally just press these back into place. So this bottom one's a little bit fiddlier, actually, because it's the other way toward the other three. Yeah, and the record button gets a bit trapped as well. That's it. That's good. So just put this back on. So there's little lugs that locate in the holes, and one the other side as well. Metal clamp. Obviously getting problems with people over tightening the screws and cracking the plastic, so metal just really helps stop that from happening. So let's give it a go. All plugged in. Let's plug that in. And so far so good. And got some noise from the TV. So that sounded great. Let's just try eject. Oh, it's not eject. I don't know why I always get eject wrong. That's so nice. So this tape is awful, as you can see. It's pretty ropey. Yeah, so, but it's all good. I mean, it's a sacrificial tape, so I use it just more to just test. Don't mind if it gets wrapped up. So broken. It's so quiet. It's the quietest C6 I think I've ever heard. Let's see if we can find another tape. I'll go towards one. It's always a favourite, isn't it? So, tracking's a bit out. Yeah, so I have actually got quite a bit of noise there. So there we have it, all good to go. Need to do a slight amount of alignment, possibly on the audio side of it, but yeah, I actually managed to clean up the picture. I did that by actually very slightly adjusting the preset tracking control internally. It's literally just a couple of mil. So to the left now, that's furthest left, it's perfect. Furthest right, you start to get loss of lock, which is what you'd expect. But yeah, really, really good machine. I'm so pleased with this. And you'll notice this is a hi-fi recorded tape, hi-fi audio tape. And there are no, you're not picking up the stray dropouts that you can do with older Betamaxes. I think the time these came out, the US equivalents anyway, there was actually a hi-fi version. Maybe you can let me know in the comments about that. But I'm sure the first hi-fi Betamax machines actually used this chassis and weren't that much after this machine coming out. So yeah, not too sure. I'm probably look that up, to be honest. But yeah, so we got there, and I'm really, really pleased with the machine. The deck is just so smooth. And yeah, just really, really nice. And the other thing, I mean, you remember in playback, the tension detection was flickering about. You see, that's completely solid now, so that's really telling me that everything is spot on and working well. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Hope you really enjoyed this one. It's nice to actually work on one of these machines again, and I'll probably never get the chance after this, so I'm really hoping I've covered everything. But yeah, so please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.